Hello there, and welcome to Thank the Maker, a podcast about heroes, princesses, scoundrels, hokey religions, ancient weapons, and all things Star Wars. I'm Adam Russell.
Pew pew. I'm Ryan Key.
And I am Mike Forrester, and I'm on a boat.
He's on a boat!
Look at me.
He's on a boat.
I'm on a boat.
Hey, you're on a boat, and I'm going to see T-Pain tomorrow or the day after, so look at that.
This actually works. This works really well.
You're going to die here, you know. Convenient.
It is nice. Our friend Justin Sonfield of the 501st Legion, and a dear supporter of Mos Eisley and all of our projects, is actually here. This is his boat. Justin, would you like to come say hi?
Hi.
There he is off screen. I didn't make that up. People are watching live. Like, they know Justin Sonfield. A lot of Star Wars stuff happening this week, guys, between celebration tickets, what we're doing tomorrow, what also got announced. Like,
didn't we announce something today?
We're supposed to talk about Bad Batch.
But speaking of boats,
okay, we don't need to talk about celebration tickets. Whatever. Let's do that after we bought them. We're all excited. Let's talk about what we announced today. So earlier in this calendar year, your boy Adam Russell and I were on a boat. Also, we were also on a boat,
bigger one,
and we were playing music in our respective bands on said boat. And as we got off the boat, I got a message from our tour manager, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Henry Bordeaux. And he said, hey, the talent buyer here from Sixth Man, which is the company that runs a lot of these themed Norwegian cruises. You know, there's all kinds of different rock and roll cruises and like nostalgia cruises. And it's crazy. The themed cruise industry is it's peaking. And so he was like, he was talking to me as we were like waiting for customs and gear and all this stuff. We were just kind of standing here, and asked me about your Star Wars podcast and asked if I could connect you. And so I said, well, yeah, sure, connect us. But, you know, wonder what that's about. He didn't even tell Henry what it was about. He just wanted to connect. So we come to find out what it was about is a exclusively Star Wars themed cruise May 1st through the 5th of 2025 called the Galaxy Cruise. What is it? Rebels of the Caribbean or something?
Yes.
Like that? So sick. So a potentially stacked lineup of guests already announced. Katie Sackhoff, Tamara Morrison, and Warwick Davis, right, have been announced. Yep. We've seen a list with many, many more names on it, and it does say more guests to be announced. So the guest list is going to be stacked, and your very own Thank the Maker podcast is going to be on the Galaxy Cruise. We don't know exactly what we're doing yet, but we know there's potential for us to be hosting some sort of panels where we may get to interview people like Katie Sackhoff and Tamara Morrison. Holy crap.
Yeah.
And otherwise just hanging out on a Star Wars cruise. It looks like there might be. Can I say the other thing? Are we?
It's announced. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it was on there today. Yeah, I didn't even see it.
It's in the small.
2 nights of Mos Eisley happening on the boat, so everyone's going to get to, you know, all these. The coolest thing about that, by the way, is that all of these kind of normal Comic-Con going, you know, celebration visiting type fans who have no idea what Mos Eisley is are going to be in a confined space where it's like, it's 10 p.m. on the boat. There's nothing left to do except Mos Eisley. And they're going to come see it, and it's going to blow their minds, and it's going to help grow the brand at, you know, future cons and future celebrations, because people are going to be like, I want to go do that again when they see it happening. So huge opportunity for Thank the Maker. Thank you to Sixth Man for, you know, trusting us to come and act like we know what we're doing with microphones in our hands or whatever you're going to ask of us. I think the most fun thing is we don't really even know what we're doing yet. It's just, they were just like, we want you there. We'll figure out what you're doing. Yeah. But we want you to be there. So yeah, tickets are going on sale and all that soon. And you can check the Thank the Maker Instagram for the links to go get your ticket. I will say, I've done the Emo's Not Dead cruise through this same company twice, 2 years in a row. Mm-hmm. This coming up, 2025 is the 3rd year of the Emo's Not Dead cruise. It sold out before they announced the lineup.
Yes.
So I know the two things are unrelated, but these themed cruises are very, very popular, and the cabins sell out instantaneously. So if this sounds cool to you and you're a fan of the podcast, we would love to meet you. We're going to be there. One of the things about these cruises that's cool is we're just there with you. You could be.
Hang.
You could be next door to me and my wife. We could be like, hey, what's up? I love Star Wars. My wife doesn't really, but she's here for the hangs. And it's just so rad to get to, hang out and get to meet fans and supporters and in that way. So, if it sounds cool to you, check our Instagram for the on sale. It's going to go fast. Cabins are going to go fast. So very, very pumped on the announcement today.
If you look at some of the other people that were announced too, like you have like Lauren Peterson, and a lot of people from ILM, like their Six Man is truly trying to make this not just like it. I can very easily see how when we do top billing for people that it's like, oh, it looks like a convention. But when we were on that call with them, they were like, we want to have this be a fully inclusive like Star Wars experience, right? So you've got legendary people from Industrial Light and Magic. You've got some of the production designers. You have people who, if you're a fan of costumes, if you're a fan of like behind the scenes for Star Wars or Industrial Light and Magic, then you want to go and just talk to these people. Notice all of the names that are in there, because this is not just I met this person who comes to my local con. Like these are some people that I don't think I've ever seen them at recent conventions.
Yeah.
And you're going to have the opportunity to get sunburned and find out exactly what went into making the miniature models of the original trilogy. These are
also would say that I am not through life experience. I know this. I am not a cruise person. I would not, if my wife and I were like, we have X amount of dollars to spend on a vacation, I would never choose a cruise. Right. But they really do a good job. They really do. As with the themed cruise. I mean, they really do make an experience for fans and lovers of whatever thing it is, whether it's the Kiss cruise or, I'm making this up, but the InSync cruise or whatever it's going to be.
The Walking Dead cruise, which was
the Walking Dead cruise. Yeah, sure. Yeah. They make it so fun for everyone on board. That's why Emo's Not Dead, which is familiar to our scene because our bands have played it. It's like Warp Tour, Van's Warp Tour at sea. The reason it's selling out the day they announce the tickets is because people now know the experience is so incredible, and so I know this will be no different. Like Sixth Man they are the one. They're the one. Yeah, they're the industry standard when it comes to these experiences on these boats, and I don't think they would just roll the dice on can we make a Star Wars cruise work. They're going to make this really special for people.
Yeah, it's going to be dope, and like we said, we were just on one, so we're not pulling this out of our asses. There are lots of details that we know, again, that we can't say, but we will update you as soon as we're allowed to. And now we're going to talk about the Bad Batch because it's over. It's done. The series has ended. It was an emotional
Hunter
finale.
has a beard.
Hunter has a beard.
And he's old.
Grizzly Adams did have a beard. We got some bingo card hits, which we'll talk about. We're just going to give you like our immediate reactions right now because I'm leaving tomorrow to go on my 10th wedding anniversary trip, which was, that anniversary was today. Mike's on a boat in New York.
I don't know where I am.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff going on. So immediate reactions here, and then we'll get in depth next week, and we'll kind of give you like a series wrap up, and we'll do the Den of Antiquities and stuff like that. We'll get into some stuff and speculate and everything. But right off the bat, Mike, you want to go first and give your immediate reactions to this episode?
Sure. I mean, all in all, it's hard for us, I think, to not look at this from a strategic standpoint of Lucasfilm. We are clearly people who are listening to the podcast, people who are watching along on YouTube, our patrons, people are invested in the strategy of what is Star Wars animation, right? So for us to kind of know that not only are Tales of the Empire coming out in 3 days, but we're already looking at the end of where Omega is now. Now, in regards to the whole season of the Bad Batch, I think we got some crazy character development is what we are now expecting out of Star Wars animation, right? if it is long form storytelling, we expect that we're going to fall in love with these characters. We're going to be incredibly sad if they die, if something happens to them. And so this finale, I go back to when Filoni used to say, Star Wars should make you feel good. And though there were real moments of peril. There were real moments where I thought, they're going to kill these guys. Like I thought Wrecker wasn't even going to make it inside of Tantus. I thought he was you know what I mean? I'm like, he's literally wrecked.
Crosshair lost a hand.
Crosshair straight up was like, Jamie, Game of Thrones, Ryan, back me up here.
Jamie Targaryen.
Jamie Targaryen. These moments I went,
no, what am I doing? Jamie Lannister.
No, not Jamie Lannister. There we go. I was like,
edit that. Adam, please edit that.
Goes to the Gozerian.
It's been a long day. I was up with my kid at 7 a.m. Jamie Lannister.
What I mean is that it actually surprised me at how buttoned up they ended it.
Yeah.
In the best way, because I felt, especially like as a dad, that moment of like, there are moments where I see my kid breaking from what I want her to do and recognizing her importance of becoming her own person. That part, I wasn't feeling the emotions that I expected to, especially given how heavy season 7 of Clone Wars ended. I was expecting this like, oh my gosh, torn apart, right? But that moment got me in a completely different way, that I wasn't heartbroken. It got me in a way of like, I'm ready to like, get me on Omega's ship. I want to go watch her do adventures now, right? So all in all, there were some amazing, awesome moments in there. I loved the fact that, they hacked the droid just like they did in episode 1 of Bad Batch. Like all of these things, I'm like, I can't wait to dive into this next week. But all in all, this was a great send-off that made us feel good about Star Wars. And I think that's more important than maybe having our adult brains go, dude, was I torn apart? Was I destroyed by this? I feel like, dude, this was a great series that Star Wars put out.
Yeah, it was. I compared it earlier to the Return of the Jedi ending. Like
sure.
Kasdan wanted to kill Han Solo. Harrison Ford wanted to die. Like he wanted to make it gnarly, and George said, "No, this is a fairy tale ending. This is going to be happy." And it was that. But if we look at all of the other stuff that's still looming, we know there's no happy ending until 20 years from then, whatever it is, 19 years from then. So they button up this story and set up Omega. The entire series was essentially just to build up Omega as a character. It was her story, brought her to adulthood, and then she's going off to fight in the rebellion.
Right.
So, I mean, we look at the timeline. Sorry, I'm going straight to speculation, but how old is she around the time of the sequel trilogy, and is she going to be in Rogue Squadron?
Not going to speculate, but that's a hell of a speculation.
Pretty sweet.
Sick, though?
Pretty sweet idea.
Yeah. Ryan Key, how about the score, dude? Right off the bat, with the
epic
emotional shit.
And the title card having no color in it.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting nervous there for a second.
So I mean, that's what I would say is if I'm being honest, the emo dad in me wanted this to be a little bit more gnarly than it was.
You wanted
more
death.
Tone, not even death, just the tone that was set with a black and white title card and the score coming in the way it did. I knew. I mean, I had no doubt in my mind that we were going to end up with, at the very least, Hunter and Omega. It was riding off into the moon set, I guess, in it. But you know what I mean? Like that. I knew that was going to be there. I do it for my personally. I think it was a little more buttoned up than I would have liked. Yeah. That said, there were so many moments to love. I do think my biggest gripe, and I'll see where I'm not saying that it's like a nail in any kind of coffin, because who knows where it's going, and there is a bigger plan that I don't know about. I just wish that Project Necromancer hadn't just sort of been like thwarted in the way that it was, right? Like I loved the moment of Tarkin being like, reassign all funds to Project Stardust. That was sick, very sick. But it's like, I feel like I'm still treading water right now in somehow Palpatine returned. And they invested so much time and energy into like this explaining some of that. And I guess it still did, because there had to have been research being reported back, and all that. But
and you think about, we talked about this the past couple of weeks, how Palpatine didn't exactly fully pull it off. I mean, to some degree, but he looked like shit in The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
They had all these Sith loyalists that he had to rally to make this thing happen because of this giant setback. It's almost like Judgment Day and Terminator. It's inevitable, but how it gets there and what version of it changes.
Right.
Here's what I'm going back to. In The Rise of Skywalker, when Finn or Rey ask Lando how they defeated the Empire before, what did Lando say?
We had each other.
Hemlock and Tarkin do not have each other. They are on their own tracks. The Empire has always been on their own track. The rule of two. We had one. I found someone else. We do not have each other, right? Everything is a cat and mouse game with the Empire, right? It's almost the complete opposite philosophy of why the Empire continues to lose, is because they don't have each other.
Dude,
and that's why rebellion works.
We talk about all the time obviously the World War II, the similarities in the original story, and George taking influence from World War II, and the Nazis being the Empire, and just the definition of evil. There's so much stuff out there, but there's a document, me being the war history lover that I am, there's a documentary on Netflix called I think Hitler's Circle of Evil. It's really, really good, super fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. It's basically analyzes each of the men in his sort of inner circle, and it's straight to your point, Mike. All they are doing is vying for power and favor with Hitler in the Nazi party. So this is, these guys are all fighting for position and to have favor with the Emperor. It's the same exact thing, and it does cause the Empire to come apart at the seams because there's no unity. And I do see that for sure. I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, because that is actually something really rad that came out of this episode that was very clear. I mean, Tarkin saying, "Fine, this is over. Do it my way." Like he didn't ring Peepaw Sheev to say, "Hey, bro, could we take all the money from Necromancer and put it into Stardust?" He just said, "Do it," and they said, "Okay, whatever you say, boss."
Well, I think too, look at it from this other perspective: is what did Hemlock also try to use to his advantage to get Omega in a trap? The clones' loyalty to each other is predictable, right?
Yeah,
so the
quote is
idea,
amazing.
right? And so the idea that the rebellion is always going to have each other's back, where the Empire is like, loyalty is a bad thing, despite them trying to make it like they're fabricating loyalty by trying to gain power. You know what I mean? Almost like they're rewarding bad behavior in regards to being like, I'm individualistic in this sense of rising to power, and the Empire has always rewarded that, right? It's the same reason that like Hemlock even was like I mean, think about it this way: Rampart died because he was like, I'm not going to come to Hemlock and be like, how can I help? He was literally trying to stick it to Hemlock.
Yeah,
he was trying to go over Hemlock's head to be like, I'm going to learn about this, and I'm going to figure this out and become even more like, I'm going to rise to the rings. These guys were literally, their hubris to the end is amazing. It's like a classic motif here that I love, that we're coming back to this.
Yeah, it's the Achilles heel of the Sith and the dark side. Ultimately the hubris of the Jedi destroyed the Jedi, but that was 1,000 years or something. The Sith had control for like 30 years. You know what I mean? And this like rule of two turned into the rule of one does not work if you're trying to run an empire.
Right.
And here we are. Like we're seeing the chips being stacked, the house of cards being built now that will crumble because of Palpatine's, thirst for unlimited power. But back to the quote about I think it's a glaring weakness of clones is their loyalty to one another. The other thing that sets up, or doesn't set up, sorry, it kind of puts a nice bow on, is Tarkin's explanation, you know, it adds to Tarkin's argument against clones and for a conscripted army, you know,
Mhm.
because they don't have to worry about loyalty to one another. It's just, you know, everyone. I guess that's the upside of this, you know, trying to climb the ladder culture within the ranks, you know.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to sound like I just hated it. 'Cause I didn't. I think I had expectations in my mind of there being this like grand reveal finale.
Yeah.
When really what it's about is there's even more ahead, and
Yeah.
I need to be patient. I'm not what you would call a patient man, and so I think that my reaction is very on the nose. It's very predictable. But again, there were moments. I mean, I don't know how if we're gonna do I love you I know, or are we just chatting? But there were certainly remarkable moments. In the show. So, yeah, are we doing I love you I know?
I don't know.
Let's just let it rip.
Let's talk for a few more minutes. Maybe. We're definitely going to do a full episode next week. We'll probably go long, so maybe let's save it for that. But
yeah,
you know, because we want to get Nick as well.
Right.
But let's talk really quickly about like the loose ends. One being what I'm calling the Dark Batch, and I hope they're called that.
The Knights of Ren. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the whole time I was like, who are these Knights of Ren we're seeing? I mean, I know it's not them, but or
They have
is it?
different
I don't know.
weapons.
But it was
Yeah.
just the vibe.
Strengths.
Dude, the vibe was so inspired by the Knights
Right.
of Ren, right? I mean, it was like,
Or vice versa. You know, it's
or
like
or that, yeah,
retro
sure,
vice versa.
sure.
Yeah.
But like, just the way that their armor, the helmets, like it
Yeah.
had this sort of like Roman gladiator like vibe to it, you know, just like the knights did. So very, very rad.
There was one really quick moment. I don't know if you guys caught it, but when the main one who's, you know, has like the tuning fork style thing with that
Mhm.
helmet that you're talking about, he picked it up and put it back on, and he's kind of in the background of the shot. You see him put his helmet on. I got the freeze frame. It's just a normal clone.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
I think that was a purposeful little moment to show who's under the helmets. These are just clones. We don't know exactly what they were doing. I mean,
No one knows who
But-
they were
right.
or what they were doing.
Stonehenge. Hemlock's hand, like they kept focusing on it again. He's dead. So like, what? What do we know
Right.
about that? Like, was he trying to, you know, what's Gus's name?
No one's ever really gone.
Nice.
You know, what's damn,
Gus
you
Fring.
know, yeah. What was his name?
Moff Gideon.
Moff Gideon.
Oh.
In very Moff Gideon style, could have been trying to put himself.
Jamie Targaryen, but I got
Jamie
that one right.
Targaryen. Yeah.
I'm fired.
Now you got to cut it out again. Oh, my God.
No, it's funny now. Leave it.
trying to get himself in the suit. Maybe he was trying these experiments on himself and it didn't work out. All the research is destroyed. So you know, we just talked a little bit about how that still leads to Palpatine.
Wait, do we talk about that though, real quick? Like Nala Se telling the Empire,
Mm-hmm.
this will always be Kaminoan.
Kaminoan.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right?
dude.
And
My
like,
work will never be owned by the Empire or whatever
well,
she says.
you think about this from every civilization, I think, especially in modern time, right? Of like when people come to try to exploit something, right? That there are generations upon generations of culture that's passed on and knowledge that's passed on that like is not meant to be exploited, right?
Right.
And that they can understand in the same way that even if we treat something very topically, like, you know, the reason that we certain products can only come out of certain countries is because there's a way that it's honored in how that thing is made, right? And so when we think about it, the beautiful, I mean, of course, like naturally I'm like, Nala, like Rampart destroyed her home and she's like, you think you're gonna take it and I'm taking you out. Like I loved that. I love that whole thing. I'm like, Nala Se, like, get some. But I think that was a really powerful moment for a lot of the way that we look at like our culture, is the idea of like, you know, if we're always talking in this manifest destiny mindset of being like, how can we exploit it? How can we turn a buck on it? How can we, to make something, this is not a political podcast, but the whole movement of my culture is not your costume kind of a thing is interesting, because in a way that kind of like talked about that like the Empire will never truly understand that knowledge. And that is absolutely leading up to the fact that Sheev Palpatine was never able to come back in the way that he wanted. Like, I am all the Sith was an attempt, but it wasn't the power that he needed. He knew he didn't have it. So I think that's a pretty awesome thing that the Empire decided that, like, why don't we just get rid of the Kaminoans? And they were like, we'll have the last laugh. You'll never figure it out.
They just had like fragments of the tech.
Yeah. Love that.
To use.
Yeah. Can I also just throw out a reference that may or may not have been in the writers' heads, but it jumped out to me in this conversation? Nala Se dying, Miles Bennett Dyson style, going back into the lab to destroy his work. Yeah, Terminator 2.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, just dropping the explosive.
The shot of the glass, from the outside of the lab. After the explosion, the way it showed the sort of the heat kind of hit the glass. I mean, it was so final. It was so Nala Se, this character that, I mean, talk about prequel fans, right? Who like the people who are like the prequels are their Star Wars. This is a very important character for them.
Right.
This is a monumental, moment where a legacy character is gonna sacrifice herself. And that shot of the glass just going like, just gross, like charred.
Yeah.
They're dead. They're dead in there. That's what it felt like. So final. Like, wow. That was one of the moments I was going to say that was super special, I think, about this episode. And then I would just, if you guys want to talk about it at all, but dude, Omega choosing to hug Crosshair first.
Yes.
Just,
that
was it. That was it for me. For all that I mentioned, for all that I've said, I wish that maybe there was a little bit, they built all this up to just blow up Tantus and move on. That's kind of
one kid and turns into a big softie.
You totally redeemed yourself was that moment. It's just like, dude, it just showed like of all the story arcs and all the character arcs on this show. I think the most dramatic one, even before that moment, was shaping up to be Crosshair.
Yeah. Right.
And then to see that after all of her time with Hunter, that when faced with the choice of who do I hug first, she was so moved by Crosshair being there at the end and taking that final shot and hitting it. Yep. He hit that shot, dog.
Yep.
Well, especially
and that moment too, between the two of them, between Hunter and Crosshair, where he was like, if I miss, and Hunter was basically like, you're not going to miss, brother.
Yeah.
But
take the shot, brother.
Before
I love you, brother.
Before they got into Tantus, what did Crosshair say to them? He looked over at Hunter and Wrecker and goes, she needs you. I'll go in myself. And they were like, no, but in that moment, it's like, he believed enough to know that like he was he
was ready to die.
Yeah, but and in his own, like, for his self, almost like he had to go prove to himself that like that was him releasing what he felt like he had bestowed, like that what was on him, right? That the guilt that he had felt was like, this is my, like, Omega needs you. I'm a guilty person that needs to go cleanse myself of this, right? For her to hug him was like, that's it. That's the redemption. Like,
it was a big deal.
Yeah,
it was a big deal.
Physics Buddy Joe, and Stacey Leanne, patrons in the chat, also said Omega looks down at Crosshair's missing hand, looks at his face, and then goes straight in for the hug too. So
he hit that shot with his left hand, dude.
There? Oh.
You want to talk about Jamie Lannister? Crosshair hit that shot with his left hand. I mean,
legend.
Okay, you know what? I take it all back. I loved it. I love. Now that we're talking about it, I loved it. I'm gonna watch it again. Yeah. I have a 4.5-month-old. I watched it right before we did this. I need to go back and.
Sure.
Yeah.
Stew on it.
I feel like you guys are always like, on my 18th viewing before the podcast. I'm like, what? How the fuck do you have time? Yeah, so I need to watch it again. But
Yeah.
the point of the story, some very, very special moments after spending 3 amazing seasons with these characters.
Yes. Well, we'll be sure to ask Michelle Ang all about these things on a boat with her a year from now.
Hey,
There we go.
TheGalaxyCruise.com, right?
Yes.
_Galaxy Cruise on social media. Go check that out. We're going to be on there with our podcast and with Maj Isley. It is May the 4th weekend, 2025. Get tickets. Like
I can't believe it happened.
Oh, dude, I know. When you brought
It's
it up,
one of those things where, like, when the opportunity first kind of like was like maybe, I was like, yeah, but call me jaded. I'm 80 years old and I've been in the music business for 7 decades, and I'm like, yeah, cool, sounds cool. So that means it's probably not going to happen.
Yep.
But here we are, and it's happening. I can't believe it, dude. Like,
so
even if we just get to like personally sit on a stage and interview one of those people, if that's it, just one. How cool that we've taken this podcast from, Adam, your house, and my parents' office to this, So cool.
Yeah. All grown up. All right. We're going to get out of here because we have lots of things to do. We will talk next week more in depth. Should be all 4 of us. We'll do a whole series wrap up, a whole season wrap up, and we'll do the deep dive and whatever. We only have a few weeks, I guess 4 episodes downtime between this and the premiere of The Acolyte. It will be full because we have to talk about Tales of the Empire. We got to do this. We should do another draft because it's draft season.
Mm-hmm.
So we should do that. And then we have an interview with a person from a Star War coming up. So it's going to be a great May.
Tomorrow we have the Roosevelts, me and our pod mates of Sarah, Steven, and Dano are in town here in New Jersey at the Roosevelts headquarters tomorrow at 4:00, unveiling their May the 4th collection. And we're also joined by another Star Wars person that's going to be there that I can't talk about yet, but they're going to be there.
It might be the same Star Wars person that I referenced.
Nope, it's not.
Oh, well.
Ooh.
Different person.
Me. Screw
Another
me.
Star Wars. There's a lot of them, but this is a good one because we have a shirt that's going to go along with it. It'll all make sense. I'm representing Thank the Maker tomorrow, and there will be some stuff. So follow along with Roosevelt's. Who's not following Roosevelt's at this point, but okay.
If you're not,
everyone have a great weekend. May the 4th be with you.
Yes.
It's our national holiday. It's our international holiday.
It feels great. I'm glad to spend it with you guys.
Amen, brother.
Happy Cinco de Mayo ahead of time as well. My second favorite holiday, next to May the 4th.
I'm going to be in Miami this weekend with pit passes to the Formula 1 race. So my brain is already melting inside of my skull.
As fast as the tires melt.
Cannot wait.
All right. Don't breathe the fumes. All right.
I'll try
Until
not
next week. May the Force be with you. If you enjoy Thank the Maker, you can support us by following and leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Or you can support us directly at patreon.com/thankthemakerpod, where you can get access to our Discord server, exclusive content, exclusive merch, our recording live stream, and more. Our patrons quite literally make Thank the Maker possible.
All right, we did it.